Hi, today we want to talk about 5.4, the testing and debugging in Savage Book. So it's going to be a short section on that one, and we're going to talk about some of these things. And of course, for the way that we have our functions, maybe we don't apply this all the time, but we want to practice enough to know about it. So when it comes along, we can know it. So in general, what the good design or good programming is, we would write one function and we would test that one function. So in real life, I might be assigned some function, somebody else is going to be assigned some function, somebody else is going to be assigned some function. I'm going to test my function the best I can before I pass it on to the group and say, I'm done with it. I just want to be sure that's going to be done. So testing one function at a time is going to give us that the flexibility to finding the issues much easier, because I'm just testing one little box, and then if something is going wrong, I have it right here, right now. Instead of testing everything at the end of the project, something goes wrong, we have to dig in a lot more than if I'm just testing my function. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a driver program. So what is the driver program? The driver program is not the actual main program. We're going to be writing a program, a main, to test our function. So whatever we need for our function, your book is talking about post condition. We do it before the function call, and then whatever is supposed to do this function, we check it after function call. So we create a menu. We're going to put our function call in there. Of course, if we want to do that, we have to have declaration and definition with it. And then we're going to call it. And then we're going to check it to be sure it's working correctly. So we can look at this one, for example. We have the get input. So I want to test my get input. Okay. So I want to test my get input. I'm putting these things which belongs to output. Remember, this is not our main program. We are not giving this main to anybody. This is for me testing my function. So if I'm checking my get input and I'm putting some stuff over here to test it, then I put this set F over here just to manage my procedures. Now, remember, get input is going to read some numbers or things from the user, and it's going to return it. So we're talking about this return one. We're going to read from the user about the cost and the shelf time, so we can calculate the price. So on the side, I would have a couple of them in there. If the wholesale cost is $10 and the shelf time is less than 7, what is supposed to be? So I calculate this outside and then I test it over here. So if my boundary is 7, I'm going to do something before 7. I'm going to do something after 7, and I'm going to check the 7 itself. That's my boundary for the shelf time. So if the shelf time is 7, I do it, let's say 5, I do 25, I do 7. And then I calculate this outside, and then I check it to be sure it's done. This function is done correctly. So if the outcome here is not coming out as I expect, then I got to go in there and do some debugging. So that is my get input function. So I am putting and this is my sample dialog. So I have 123.45, and I have the days to be sold is 67. So I have to calculate this to be sure if there is any calculation, to see if the calculation is correct. In this one, we don't have no calculation. We're just going to call the get input, and then we're going to pass these things up. So these variables, the cost and shelf time, this is just the get input. It's not the processing. So we just want to be sure that if we put a number in the function, it's going to come out of here. So it's putting 123.45, 67, and that's what's coming out of it. So we're good. And if we want to try it again, we're going to try another one. So the whole purpose of the get input is these numbers are going to be exactly the same as these numbers. All right, sometimes when we want to test our program, again, these programs are small, but in general, we're going to have a lot more than that. Our function is going to be relying on another function that potentially somebody else is working on. So let's say that I am responsible to write the output for this program. So my output is going to rely on a calculation, and it's going to rely on the get input. I'm not going to do those things. Somebody else is going to do. And I'm not going to sit around and wait for them to finish first. So whatever I need, and I know there is a function called get input, and I know there is a function called price, then I put some numbers in there. I'm not writing the whole thing. I'm just going to put some numbers. So when I want to do my output function, and if I need to call those functions, I'm going to have what I need to run my function. So stop are the functions that somebody else is writing it. I don't have the detail of it. I'm just going to manually put some numbers in them so I can test my function that needs those functions. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So in this case, we have get input, retail price, and give output. Now, for me to be able to test my output, I need my function price to work. But I'm not going to write the code for price. Somebody else is going to write the price function. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to return a number, whatever. So when they write this, we can put it in there, it's going to work. But remember, I'm just testing my function. So if my function depends to another function that somebody else is writing it, I am going to just put some hard-coded number to test my own function. So ideally, we want to test every function by itself. In reality, we don't do it as much, but if I'm responsible for 3 functions, I will test my 3 functions fully before I pass it on to other people. Okay, so this is activity 5.4. Be sure that you'll be ready to talk about it in class. And that's for that one.